In a three-part video series I made 6 months ago, I argued that the Richat Structure, or the Eye of the Sahara, probably wasn't Atlantis. That being said, I still believe that the Richat Structure is the second best candidate for the location of the lost city of Atlantis, with the main reason being that it is the only theory in which the concentric circles mentioned by Plato are clearly present. Anyone can see with his or her own eyes that the Eye of the Sahara looks a lot like how Plato described it. But there is another formation that also bears a striking resemblance to Plato's lost city, located not in the Sahara Desert hundreds of miles away from the Atlantic coast, but on the bottom of the Caribbean Sea at a depth exceeding 10,000 feet. I call it the Eye of the Caribbean because it resembles the Eye of the Sahara in that it is made up of concentric rings, but the feature has no officially designated name. Here's why I believe it is a superior candidate for the lost city of Atlantis than the Eye of the Sahara or the Richat Structure. First, the Eye of the Caribbean is actually located in a rectangular plain exactly as Plato said it was. In his dialogue Critias, Plato described the capital city of Atlantis as being located in an approximately rectangular or oblong plain whose dimensions were 3,000 stadia in one direction and 2,000 stadia in the other. If we convert from stadia to miles, the plain's dimensions were around 340 miles in one direction and 230 miles in the other. Indeed, the Eye of the Caribbean is situated in a plain of these very dimensions, and it is actually an identified and named geographical feature, the Venezuelan plain. The Eye of the Sahara is not situated in a plain or any geographical feature that could even be vaguely identified as such. Second, the plain mentioned in Plato's dialogues was also described as having been surrounded by mountains on all sides, with these mountains being greater and more beautiful than any which still existed. Again, the Venezuelan plain in which the Eye of the Caribbean is located matches this description. The Venezuelan plain really is surrounded by mountains on all four sides, with there being identified mountain ranges on all four sides: the Beta Ridge to the west, the Curacao Ridge to the south, the Aves Ridge to the east, and the landmass that makes up the islands of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico to the north. The plain's average depth is around 16,500 feet, and these surrounding mountains rise to depths ranging from a few thousand feet below sea level for the Beta Ridge and the Curacao Ridge to the sea surface for the Aves Ridge, and thousands of feet above sea level for the islands of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. This means that the surrounding mountains, from the vantage point of the plain, anywhere from between 10,000 to 20,000 feet high, which would have indeed been higher than any mountains that Plato would have been familiar with, as he described. The Eye of the Sahara, on the other hand, is not found in a plain at all, let alone a plain that is surrounded by high mountains. The Eye of the Caribbean is located underwater, as is expected for a city that was said by Plato to have been swallowed up by the sea and having disappeared. The Eye of the Sahara, however, is located more than 400 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean at an altitude of more than 1,200 feet. In addition, the idea of an underwater city in the Caribbean Sea is not as crazy as it might sound at first. In fact, a sunken city in the Caribbean has already been discovered, as I mentioned in my video on the Cuban underwater city. To briefly summarize, in 2001, a team of Canadian divers working for the Cuban government to find sunken shipwrecks from the Spanish colonial era made an unexpected discovery. To their astonishment, they noticed linear and grid-like patterns on the side-scan sonar data they had gathered. Upon further inspection, including sending a remote-operated submersible down to the site, a city with pyramids and massive stone blocks was discovered over a vast area, with most of the structures intact and still standing. So the Eye of the Caribbean would be just one more sunken city at the bottom of the Caribbean, and not an unprecedented discovery. Critics may argue there shouldn't be any city more than around 400 feet underwater, since the global sea level did not fall below this level even during the coldest part of the last ice age, and the Eye of the Caribbean is at a depth of nearly 15,000 feet. A city found at such depths would be a remarkable discovery, but the Cuban underwater city I just mentioned was also found at a depth exceeding 400 feet, at more than 2,000 feet deep to be precise. If the Cuban underwater city hadn't been discovered in 2001 and its existence confirmed with follow-up expeditions, the existence of the Eye of the Caribbean would be on very shaky ground. But to reiterate, the Eye of the Caribbean, given the verified existence of the Cuban underwater city, would be merely one more underwater city in the Caribbean. For these reasons, I believe that the Eye of the Caribbean is a better candidate for the lost city of Atlantis than the Eye of the Sahara or Richat Structure. In future videos, I will provide scientific and textual evidence that the Eye of the Caribbean is Atlantis beyond all reasonable doubt.